This is a presentation on the process of participatory vendor selection. This process is used to help determine which particular IT system is preferable for a healthcare organization to use based on how they weigh their preferences against one another. There are several steps in the vendor selection process. First, stakeholders must be invited to participate. By having multiple participants involved, a constructive dialogue can occur where various opinions are considered. The next step is one-on-one interviews. In this example, the analyst will have interviewed 3 stakeholders individually on their preferred attributes of an IT system and the range of levels they will consider. As a result, a model of an IT system is created based on their preferences. We will describe the steps of this process later on in the presentation. The third step involves conducting group meetings. The analyst presents a model of the group's chosen attributes and asks for input on how to adjust their best and worst case levels. When the attributes and levels have been set, the group must decide on their order of importance and weigh each attribute against one another. Through this, a consensus model can be developed that the entire group agrees with. Shown on this slide are the results that the analysts recorded during the one-on-one interviews. Each expert was first questioned about their experience with electronic health methods and how they are used within their healthcare organization. There were also questions on the best and worst parts of the system that they use or have used in the past. They were also asked to consider what were the most important attributes of a health IT system and how each compares to one another to help maintain the success and efficiency of their organization. Through the answers given in these interviews, the analyst was able to construct these 3 separate models of preferences for each expert. The attributes are listed in the order of importance to each specific expert, with the attribute of the highest importance starting farthest to the left of the chart. Levels for each attribute were given by the experts and their weighed importance against the other attributes were recorded. Through this chart, you can clearly see some similarities and differences between the opinions of each expert through their individual interviews. After the one-on-one interviews were conducted and the results recorded, the analyst was able to have a better idea of what each expert was looking for in a health IT system. The next step was to conduct a group meeting between the analyst and the 3 experts. The analyst mentioned the attributes that were brought up by each of the experts individually and the range of levels chosen for each. Through much conversation and debate, a consensus model began to take form. First, the experts agreed on 3 attributes that were the most important for their organization's IT model. These 3 are ease of use, compatibility with other computer systems, and cost. As shown in the chart above, the experts also agreed on 3 levels for each attribute that were each assigned a value. Those ratings were considered the best, in other words, the most ideal amount of that particular attribute were assigned the value of 100, while the worst rating was given a value of 0. A medium value was also assigned for each attribute, which was given a value of 50. After ranking each attribute and their levels, the group came to a consensus on the weight of importance of each attribute against one another. As shown here, the group decided the most important attribute to be ease of use, followed by compatibility, and finally by cost. Since cost was decided to be the lowest priority of the 3, it was assigned the value of 10. The group agreed that compatibility was 1.5 times more important than cost, giving it a value of 15. Finally, ease of use was determined to be twice as important as compatibility, giving it a value of 30. After dividing each of these values by the sum of all values, which is 55, the weights of each attribute were calculated and recorded on this chart. Based on the consensus model created through the group meeting, the analyst was able to determine which of the 3 hypothetical vendors shown here would be most suitable for the needs and preferences of the experts. This chart shows which level that each particular vendor ranks in regards to each of the attributes preferred by the experts. Based on the values of the levels determined by the group of experts, each vendor's rating on each particular attribute is recorded in the chart. For example, vendor A system takes less than a minute to record patient information, therefore its ease of use rating as determined by the experts is 100. Next, each attribute's rating was multiplied by the corresponding weight. Then, for each particular vendor, these totals were added together. For example, vendor A has an ease of use rating of 100, a compatibility rating of 50, and a cost rating of 0. Each of these values was multiplied by its corresponding weight as chosen by the experts, 0.54, 0.28, and 0.19 respectively. These values were then added together to give vendor A an overall rating of 68. This same process was done for vendors B and C, and the ratings were found to be 23.5 and 46 respectively. Based on the weighted ratings of each vendor, the analyst would recommend for the experts to choose vendor A. It has the highest rating of the three and is thus most complementary to the preferences of these experts. Even though vendor A has a high cost, it is offset by the high ease of use and compatibility ratings, which were determined by the experts to be of higher priority. There is much value in using the participatory vendor selection process. All opinions of the experts were considered and taken into account through constructing their individual models. As a result, their preferences were able to show more when developing the group consensus model. Constructive discussion among the group, as facilitated by the analyst, allowed for a group model to be developed that satisfied most of the individual needs of each expert. The methods described in this presentation were done through a process of uniformed quantification of each attribute and their corresponding levels. By doing so, we were able to objectively measure and consider these seemingly subjective attributes. Quantification also allows the ability to compare attributes and their assigned levels of importance against one another. The interview process used in this model was significant because it allows for the extraction of various opinions of experts without the influence of others. Overall, the process of participatory vendor selection allows for individuals to first voice their specific opinions and construct their own personal IT model. Then, through group discussion, a consensus model can be determined to fit most of the needs of all individuals. This method allows for the appropriate vendor with the preferred attributes to be selected for a specific healthcare organization. This is the conclusion of the presentation. Thank you.